Okay, good evening, everyone. I think we are currently about 23 on the call. I would encourage um, every one of us to invite our other colleagues to join the call. Lucy, you have your hands up. Lucky, you have your hands up. Um, if you'd want to say something before we commence. Okay. So once again, welcome to the SP Warri session April monthly technical lecture. And my name is Yasir Rabiu. I work in Finance and Accounts division here at NJIC Warri, and I have the privilege of moderating this monthly technical lecture for April. And I'm excited to be here. So this is our high-level agenda, and we are going to move smoothly through this outline, and we hope to conclude the technical lecture in an hour, by God's grace. Next, we would be starting off with an opening prayer. This is the third stanza of the Nigerian national anthem. At the count of three, I would want all of us to kindly unmute our mics so we can recite the stanza to commemorate our opening prayer. At the start of three, we would all unmute our mics and recite the national anthem. 1, 2, 3. God of
God
all
of all creation,
grant this
grant
our one
this
request.
our request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Thank
Amen.
you very much, everyone. I
Amen.
really appreciate your efforts. If we could kindly mute our mics so we can proceed to ensure clarity. Next, I will be handing over to Mr. Udi Goodluck to give us a few housekeeping rules as well as take us through safety before we commence. So, Mr. Udi, kindly confirm you're on the call so we can take us through the safety brief. Okay, it seems Mr. Udi Goodluck might be having some technical issues. So we can. Sorry, Bashir, please go on.
Yeah, Odi texted me that he's having technical issue.
No problem.
So if Sylvia Nwora can take it, or if she's not available, you can just
Yes, no problem.
Thank you.
Sylvia, are you available, and is your network okay to take us through the safety brief?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Good
you,
morning.
Sylvia.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening, Sylvia. We can
Okay.
hear you. Kindly proceed.
So for the safety brief, please mute your mic when not speaking, raise up your hands to speak, use the chat button, C for comments, and Q for questions. Ensure you can still hear the fire alarm with your headset on. Be at alert and aware of your environment always. Always stay safe and maintain a good sitting posture throughout the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia, for the housekeeping and safety brief. So let's proceed. Please join me in welcoming our section chairman in person of Dr. Oluwaseun Adetona for his opening remarks. Doctor, please, you have the floor.
All right, good evening, everybody. Starting on the existing protocol, I want to welcome our young professionals, student member and professionals, BOT members from Warri section that are on this call, especially in the person of Engineer Ajiro Gedegbe. Thank you, sir, for joining the call. We thank you for always being part of us, always not leaving Warri out, even though he has choice, because it covers more than just Warri session. It's in the whole of the SP International and Nigerian Council. That's why he's a BOT member. So, sir, I would like to thank you for being on the call and honoring Warri section once again, sir. We are grateful for being on the call. Thank you, sir. Also, let me see if Engineer Digbite is able to make it. All right. I'm seeing some of the board member, Engineer, okay, thank you. Despite your tight schedules, you are still able to squeeze it. Engineer Itemi, I'm seeing you also. Thank you all for being on this call, to also welcome our guest speaker today. So I would like to implore our young professional that this is a technical discourse and it's very important we have our pens, our notepad ready so that we can just some of the key things that the speaker, the presenter will be discussing with us today. It's an honor and it's a privilege for us to have Engineer Efe Orijesu in the house, one of the special beings I've ever come across, and I know it's an honor for him to be on this call with us in Warri session. He's a gift, and I believe he's ready to share part of what he has learned on the job in terms of the risks and uncertainty. So please let us relax ourselves. Let's calm down, get our pens ready, and let's learn from the expert himself. Thank you. So please, let's have a wonderful time out with him for the next 40 to 50 minutes of his discourse. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oluwaseun. It is indeed highly appreciated. We are very excited to have such honorable personalities on the call, and we look forward to a very memorable session. Next, I would love for us to have an introduction of the guest speaker, and that will be done by none other but Ose Isiku. Ose, please kindly unmute your mic and go on.
Good evening, Yashi. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Good evening, Ose. We can hear you. Kindly go on.
Great. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's technical lecture. Our speaker today brings a rare combination of deep technical expertise and sophisticated financial acumen to the energy industry. Efe is a senior business economist and a deal structurer at SNEPCO and Shell Energy Nigeria, where he leads economic evaluation and deal structuring for renewable energy installation, domestic gas supply deals, and upstream projects. On the academic and professional credentials side, Ife has a BSc in petroleum engineering from the University of Benin, a master's in petroleum engineering from Imperial College London, and most recently, the CFA Charter awarded in 2024. What makes his perspective distinctive is the breadth of the journey that got him here. Over a 15-year career with Shell, he has worked as a petroleum engineer, a drilling supervisor, and an asset economist, giving him a first-hand experience of how energy projects are conceived, drilled, managed, and financed. He is, in short, someone who has sat at every seat at the table, the well site, the assets team, and the deal room. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, please we'll now open the floor for Mr. Efeogene Orijesu, CFA. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Please confirm you can hear me.
Loud and clear, sir.
Good evening. We can hear you, sir.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the rousing introduction and welcome. I just want to wave to everyone. I will not leave my video on because I recognize sometimes it can mess up with the connection. But yes, I just wanted you to see how happy I am to have the opportunity to share this knowledge with, I call it my home section. I first joined SP in section 104. It was over 20 years ago. And that was where my interest for petroleum engineering and SP was sparked. So this feels like homecoming. And it feels like family as well. Engineer Ajiri, Dr. Sheo, and everyone. This is Warri section, and Warri not the carry last. So thank you very much for welcoming me home. I will go off my video now, and we can start. Before we start with the slides, I would like to just do like a small icebreaker. You can type in the chat if you want to answer the questions. I will just ask 2 questions, and you can reply by typing, and we can see where everyone is at. So today we're talking about applied risk and uncertainty analysis. This is where you deal with decisions where you are not really sure what the outcome is going to be. So I want to ask, how many of us are doing a career now that is related to what we studied in school? So if you are practicing something related to what you studied in school, just say yes, I am, or I'm not. I've seen Bashir is saying he's not. I will answer with mine. You probably were wondering, how did you do petroleum engineering and then you ended up in financial analysis? So the outcome is very different from what we decided to do in school for a lot of us. I'm seeing a lot of I'm not. I'm seeing only one person saying I am. So this is an example of a decision that you took many years ago where you were not really sure if it was going to turn out the way you expected. You went to school and they asked you, what do you want to become? Say, I want to be an engineer. And then you went to school, you studied, and then here you are now being an economist or a financial analyst. Nothing related to what you decided to do many years ago. Okay, I've gotten that feedback from the group. The next question I will go and ask is something related to buying, something that we can all relate to. If you are given the opportunity to buy a car, an electric car worth 50 million naira tomorrow, and all you had in your bank account was 55 million naira, would you buy that car? That's the second question. In our Nigeria of today, with expensive oil price, expensive petrol price, expensive diesel, mechanics doing left and right and center, NEPA also not giving you opportunity to charge your car. So let us ask this question. If you had 55 million naira now, and you were only allowed to buy one car, and this is an electric car, and it's cost 50 million, would you buy that car? Let's see who will say yes or no. I have some no's from BOT chairman. I have a no also from Abubakar as well. You don't want to drive electric car. Nobody wants to buy. So the problem now is you have to make a decision with scarce resources. So not only is your decision, someone says he will pack the idea, probably for when he has extra money. Imo, that's where you wait first until the money reaches 100 million before you decide again. That's also a decision, kicking the decision down the road. So thank you for your responses. And I'm just trying to introduce us to the nature of decisions in the oil and gas industry. Most of the decisions we take, we do not know what the outcome is going to be for sure. And then most of the decisions we take are with scarce resources. We do not have unlimited money. We do not have unlimited energy. We do not have unlimited time. So you have to be familiar and embrace the concept of uncertainty, or else you will not be able to take effective decisions. So I'll just walk us through some of the tools today that we use in the petroleum industry to take decisions. And then hopefully this helps us in the room when we're having the opportunity to do that in our personal and in our professional lives. Yes, we can go to the next slide now. Yes, so petroleum engineering as a discipline is one of the peculiar branches of, should I say, engineering, because this is the only engineering where you design for something that you cannot see. Several unknowns. You're drilling thousands of kilometers into the ground. You don't know exactly what you're going to see there. Yes, you may have seismic. Yes, you may have other wells in the area, but you can't be sure if you're going to hit your target or not, or if you're going to meet your subsurface in the state that you planned to or not. It also is very expensive. It depends on how big your project is, but you see in some recent FIDs we have taken in Nigeria, we have $5 billion for Bonga North, $2 billion for HI, $500 million for the Ubeta project in Nigeria alone. That was in 2024, about almost 8 billion that year that was committed to projects in Nigeria. And then in 2025, we even stepped it up. We had 28 new field development plans, and the total worth combined is about 18 billion. This year, I'm sure we're going to have some more. So these are big figures that are being called. So imagine some of us having the question to buy an electric car or not, and we're only trying to debate about $50,000 or say $30,000. Imagine if you were part of a decision that is up to $2 billion. You need to have the tools to make that decision. You need to follow a system where you do not just leave it to chance. This is not just going to buy an electric car. This is something even bigger than that. So we need to be able to understand the tools we use to take those kinds of decisions. Another complexity with this is the nature of human beings themselves, because these decisions, we are the ones that take them. We are not machines. We are affected by bias or affected by our personal philosophies, even our painful experiences in the past. Maybe you spent money, you put all your investment in something in the past and you lost it. It also makes you more cautious. It prevents you from taking some types of decisions that you would have taken if that painful experience did not happen to you. Even the fact that data is, should I say, objective or impartial is not really true. Some people say, you cannot argue with data. You can argue with data now. It has changed, So people use data now to confirm a choice that they have already made up their minds to do. For instance, if you go to the car shop and you say, I want to buy a car today, and you have made up your mind that you're going to buy that car, and they tell you that car you want is 50 million, you can hear that 50 million and say, that's a good price. It means that car must be very good because the price is high. That price shows that the car has value. It means there must be something there. Let me buy the car. Another person can go to the same shop and see a price and say, this price, 50 million, I'm not going to buy it. This is the reason why. It is too expensive to charge. The insurance will be too high. People will be looking for me to kidnap me, and then all of a sudden the data becomes something that you use to justify a decision you have already taken. So sometimes even saying, let's see the data, let's look at the data, might not even help you with your decision because of the bias that you came with. That data, you can use it as a weapon to just justify your decision or to make it in another way. So data is not even objective or impartial anymore. So how do we go about taking a decision in this setting that we find ourselves? Can we go to the next slide? Some people approach these by using calculations and decisions where you have the options that are laid out in front of you and the most impactful factors that affect those things. You ask yourself, what are the major factors that affect this decision? Number one, as going back to our car example, how much is it to charge lights now? How much is it to buy petrol now? How much is it to spend on the mechanic? What will I need to do if my car gets bad? Is there a vulcanizer that can fix the tire? What if I bash the electric car? Can they panel beat it back to what it was before? If I'm supposed to fix it, what am I going to do? Are they going to import the parts or the parts are here in Nigeria? All those questions are summarized, and then you pick the most important ones and you put them in a form of a decision tree where you say, at this point, if it is yes or no, go this way. If it is no, go this way. If I go this way, this is how much I will spend. And that is something like a decision tree where you say at the top, where you have outcomes that are tied to value. And then based on the endpoints of those values, you calculate back and say, it was the expected result of this. I'll show that in the next slide. If that is positive, then we move forward. If it is negative, then we don't move forward, you know. And then for the tornado, this one also shows us the impact of some of the choices that you have. You say, okay, if I have more money, I can do this. If the part costs so much, I can do this. If this happens, I can do this. And these are the factors that affect us the most, and these are the ones that affect us the least. You can rank them and now find the dimensions of your decision based on this. But some of these, let's go to the next slide just to show. I won't dwell on this, but this is an example of you making a decision based on your uncertainties. You say, oh, I don't have as much money in my bank account as I think I have. Or maybe in the process of spending, something happens that makes me spend more than I planned to spend. Or maybe there's a delay in my schedule. Or maybe there is a stakeholder management that takes longer than planned. All these you can summarize and use the tornado chart to rank all these factors and see how they affect your decision. If you look and say, oh, I cannot take this risk, then you use this as a tool to help you in taking your decision. The next one goes to the decision tree. Go to the next slide. Keep going. I won't dwell on this. I put these here so that we can have a good picture. With the decision tree, you attach value to each decision. For instance, if we choose this development option, this is how much we will spend. This is our chance of success. Now, the decision tree is actually slightly clearer because when you look at it, you can see how much probability is attached to each branch. You can say 50% to this one, this is the chance of it happening. 80% to this one, this is the chance of it happening. And when you now put the value at the end of these nodes, you can back calculate and see what the value of each node is, bring it back to the value of the node before it, and use those probabilities in a stepwise fashion to get to your expected mean value, which is the value at the leftmost node, which could tell you whether you could go ahead with the decision or not. With this one, most times, if it is positive, the indication is to go ahead. If it is negative, the indication is to not go ahead with the decision. So this helps us sometimes to justify with numbers whether we should go ahead or not. Or if we need more information, maybe we look at a particular decision and say, I'm not very sure that this number is correct. Let's get more information on it and update this tree and see how we can move forward with a clearer decision, so to speak. Next slide, please. These decisions taken with these traditional tools also fall short because they do not deal with probability. None of these tools can actually help to tell you the probability of your outcome happening. For instance, in the tornado chart, if your capex is overrun, what's the probability that that happens? You don't really know. All you know is that if it happens, this is what would be the impact, but you don't really know the probability of it happening. So sometimes you might be deciding based on something that doesn't even have a chance of happening. It's like saying, if I buy this car now, what is the probability that I will lose the headlights? Or what is the probability that I will run into another car? You don't know. So you could say, I won't buy this car because if I run into another car, I will not be able to fix it. What if I told you that the probability of running into another car is 0? That means it no longer becomes something that you should be considering in making a decision. But when you look at your tornado chart, you see it's at the top. You see it very well there at the top, and to be as if it's very important. Meanwhile, the probability of it happening is 0. So these are helpful to show the impact of scenarios or events that could happen, but the probability part being missing is what lends us to step forward to another type of decision-making tool, which is called the probabilistic decision making. This one adds probability to all these factors. It tries to describe the likelihood of all these impacts happening, such that you are not just looking at what the size of the impact is, you are looking at the likelihood of the impacts. And I'll talk about one of those popular ones in the next slide. We must have all heard of it. Please move to the next slide. Let's see. The Monte Carlo simulation. In a nutshell, it takes every single factor that can impact your decision and it assigns a distribution to it. Now, this distribution could be a uniform distribution, it could be a triangular distribution, it could be a normal distribution. Maybe, for instance, volume is one of your main factors. You assign a distribution to it and say, okay, my volume can range from here to here, and it is a uniform distribution, or it's a triangular distribution, or it is any other type of distribution. After you pick 10, 20, 30 of these factors and assign distributions to them, you now tell the Monte Carlo simulator to run a number of simulations, a number of runs, and then it will plot the probability of your outcomes on something that's called a histogram or something that is called an S-curve. And based on that, you can see inside those your outcomes, what your probabilities look like. I put a lot of words on this text in case anybody wants to be introduced to this. Some of us may not have seen it before. At least when these slides are shared, you can actually use this as a manual to run a Monte Carlo simulation if you've not done so before. Let's look at the results in the next slide. In this, you can see, for instance, clearly, what is the chance of you exceeding a particular outcome? The range between P90 and P10, some companies actually swap it around and call P10 the low and they call P90 the high. So you have to be careful when you're looking at it. Sometimes it is swapped around, but for this convention, we're using P90 as the low and P10 as the high. When you look at the range between P10 and P90, the rule is that you are 80% sure that your outcomes are going to fall within this range. And that's the beauty of the histogram. If you are expecting anything above your P10, the probability of that happening is 10%. If you are expecting something below your P90, the probability of that happening is also 10%. It just tells you a range of probabilities for the outcomes you might have. And the one that is closest to the middle, called your P50, or the one that is halfway through the range, ends up being what your expected case is, where you can say with reasonable certainty that this is what the project is going to be worth. In a graph where you now have at the bottom of these histogram bars, you have what the actual scale of the NPV is, and you find out that your P50 falls in the negative region, it tells you that your project is not likely to be successful, is not likely to be profitable. But where you see, okay, even your P90 is in the positive range, then you are very confident to go forward with a project like that because you feel if it is positive, even at the P90, then you are not likely to lose any money. Some projects are so bad that even at the P10, the one that's supposed to be high, you're already losing money. You see that the probability of you making money in that project is low. It's more than 90% sure that you're going to fail. And that helps you to say, okay, not only is there a size of this impact, we can see a probability and know, okay, this is the likelihood of this thing happening. That is the type of decision making that we are moving towards, not just something that says, what is the impact, but also what is the likelihood or the probability. Let's move to another depiction of these results in the next slide, where it can be very helpful as well. This histogram can also be represented as an S-curve. Now, the S-curve on the y-axis that shows here as chance of succeeding, it's actually graduated in 10. So you have P10, 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way up to the top. So P90 is just the division before the top. And that also corresponds to the line that was P90 in the previous slide. And this just says, I've added on this particular one now a scale at the bottom that can tell you whether you are in the red, which is a loss, or in the black, which is a gain. And you can see here that the P90 for the blue curve is in the red. It is actually showing that you are 90% sure that you would have a project that has a value more than minus 3,000. If you also look at the P10 values, it says that you are 10% sure that your project is going to have a value that exceeds about 3,900. That is looking at the blue curve. You can also represent it as a normal distribution, where you can see this is like a dome that is rising and falling. Those two projects also correspond to those two domes. In one of these domes, you can see that you have a high chance of making your base case with the dotted line, the orange dotted line there. That one tells you that if you actually achieve your base case, the probability of you achieving that base case is high, it's over 90%. But with the red dotted line, the slightly lower molehill, it tells you that your chance of achieving that your base case is only 60%. So yes, you have a base case. Yes, you have an expected case, but the probability now is added on visually for you to see and compare your two projects. If you were just looking at the two projects and you're looking at the NPV alone without looking at probability, and you were asked to choose between these two projects, you can see that the base case is very similar. The midpoints of these domes, they kind of overlie each other. But the real story comes out in the probability. The one with the dotted lines or with the dashed lines is actually more likely to happen than the one with the dotted lines. You can see that the probability of that point is higher. One of these is Oasis and the other one is just plain, just for us to understand this graph. So these are some of the tools that when we are looking at uncertainties and risks, when we put in all the factors, we put in all the probabilities, we put in all the things to consider, we also add how likely it is to happen. That likelihood is not us that adds it. It is made possible by a tool such as the Monte Carlo simulator. All you do is say, this is the range of values that you can have. And when it calculates it, it will give you a probability of outcomes. It helps us to now come and say, okay, this is more likely to happen than the other. I hope this is a little bit clear. We can take questions at the end. Can we go to the next slide? The next slide will talk about probabilities and uncertainties that are unique or more unique to the oil and gas industry. Most of our NPVs are log normal distributions, which means that they actually they don't really show a symmetric histogram curve. They actually tend to be towards the low side. The reason for this sometimes might be our pessimism. When we look at our data in the oil industry, we tend to skew towards the negative. We try to be conservative. We don't want to overpromise. So you see that when you put that your probability in and you get your results in the form of this histogram curve, you see that your probability is higher, is tilted towards the lower values because you've put a lower value of porosity put a lower estimate of permeability, put a lower value of water saturation and your area and your volumes and your success. Somehow you're trying to be careful. In the oil industry, we try to be conservative. So you find out that somehow we tend to be not a normal distribution, but a log normal distribution. We also have ways where we, like in the Italian flag, where we try and express non-technical risk. Non-technical risk are things that you cannot really quantify with mathematics. For instance, now, will the next president be favorable towards drilling, or will he be favorable towards not drilling? You can not say for sure that it is going to be the case. All you know is either it is highly likely based on sentiment, or it is not very likely, also based on sentiment. Instead of just saying a high confidence yes or no, we put it in the form of an Italian flag, where if you have a long section of the bar, that shows that you have high confidence in it. If that bar tends to be green, then you are having a high confidence that it will be a yes. If the bar is long and it is red, then you're having a high confidence that it is going to be a no. The only other one I will talk about on this slide is the black swans. Black swans are events that happen that you cannot actually predict. For instance, the US-Iran war now. When we all said Happy New Year to ourselves this year, nobody knew that US and Iran would be fighting 2 months later. Nobody knew that oil prices will go above 100. Nobody knew that diesel and petrol will go so high. So these are events that you cannot actually predict or model or plan for. They are called unknown unknowns, and they can throw your modeling out of the window. Sometimes they are very positive. We still call them black swans. It could be something that happened that even made your project even more profitable. For instance, if there's no way that you can produce oil in certain countries now, and your own country is favorable because there's no war here and capital is now moving towards you because it is unable to move to the other side, that is a good thing, in quotes. It is an event that makes your project more likely to succeed, you know. And these are all some of the things to consider, non-technical risks and things that are very commonly seen in the oil and gas industry. Before I close, let's go to the next slide. I'd like to talk a little bit about the nature of the person that has to help people take decisions. That person is called a decision analyst. What you do, your work is divided into three. The first part of your work is to identify and quantify the risks. You have to understand the project. Sometimes it helps when you have a technical background in petroleum engineering. When you are presented with a project, you can see the risks because you have actually put some work in the past to building and to designing and to executing some of these projects. So when they tell you, oh, we'll be able to do the well in 15 days, you say, which well are you drilling in 15 days? Please tell me the depth of the well. You ask questions and see how likely it is that that will happen. So identifying the risks and quantifying them, it helps you to frame the project, which is often the most important part of decision analysis. Asking the right questions, asking the experts, knowing who to ask, knowing who you should look for in the room to frame your decision properly. It is actually the most important phase of your work. The next phase is actually taken for granted most times. It is the easiest phase. This is where you use your tools, your modeling tools described, precision tree, Excel, Monte Carlo simulator, tornado charts. This is where you translate all those information you gathered from making your interviews into mathematics or into visuals or into things that you can use to aid a decision, into probabilities that you can say, this project looks better than this other project. Let us do it instead of the other one. And the third part is interpreting these and communicating these to management. This looks as if it is easy, but I can assure you, English is not easy. English is not easy. If you have written IELTS before, some of us have written IELTS before, you will know that sometimes the hardest part is the one that is speaking. or people who have stage fright and they need to give presentations to management or to their peers. You just know that sometimes just explaining the mathematics that you have done, transforming that into communication can be the hardest part of the job. But the good thing is the more you do it, the better you become at it. And you are able to present the decisions and the things that affect them with clarity and honesty or bravery. Next slide, please. The next slide tells us a little bit of the journey of the person who helps decision makers to make a decision. I like to use a particular analogy here, like in a shopping mall, for instance. Maybe when you go to ShopRite, the project economist is the person at the cashier counter. You have brought your project, you have brought all your shopping to them, and you are just asking them, how much does it cost? And then they will press calculator and tell you this is how much you are supposed to pay, and you go out with your shopping. The integrator is the one who engages you. This is like the shop attendant that goes with you inside the store. They will carry basket and follow you and say, do you want corned beef? Do you want baked beans? Do you want tomatoes? Oh, choose this one over this one because this one is not available. You can try this one. That is the integrator. The decision analyst is the person at home. Sorry, the person at home who is writing the shopping list. So this one now, you are not just in the shopping mall waiting for your customers to come. You have followed them home to go and help them as they are at home to make up the list. And here, this is you now being in the room where you can actually see the decision, frame the decision, advise them what adds value, and link it to influence a project direction, often from the beginning of the project. So sometimes we can identify ourselves and say at which points of this life cycle we are. Are you just at the end waiting for the results to come so you can run the numbers? Are you a little bit of in the middle where you are actually helping to frame the decision better and leading the valuation and setting timelines and ensuring that those milestones are met? Or have you gotten to the point where even at the beginning point of the inception of a project, you are called to say, let's frame this project. Let's think about how we can add value to this project. Let us start it thinking about it together instead of waiting at the end. That is a little bit of the life of the career of a decision analyst. And this becomes more important in a world where we have a lot of uncertainties, and we have to be able to describe these uncertainties mathematically and communicate them properly. I think that is all. I will leave the last slide until people have questions, and then maybe I will come back later on that. Let's go to the slide 14. Skip 2 slides in front. Can you? Yes. So this is where you have a look back, where you close the loop. After you have made your decision, you have to come back and check. Did we plan for something and did we meet it? This is like us now checking whether we're doing in our careers what we studied in school. You have to look back and check. This career I've chosen, how does it relate to my choice when I was in university, when I was deciding what to do? What metrics did I use to choose? And was that decision a good decision or not? Well, how can I improve moving forward? So this is an example of us looking back. You take your project, you take the evaluation you had maybe a few years after, and then you check. Did it come out as we planned? Did we see as much reserves? Did we spend as much money? What were the factors that affected the project? Were we able to identify those factors on time? Were we able to achieve as much money or not? Or did our project even exceed our expectations? We planned for 500 barrels per day. We got 5,000. What did we miss? These help us document our decision-making process and help us in the future to make better decisions. It's called the after-action review of decision-making, closing the loop. And it's very important because a lot of times we take decisions and we go away without coming back to check and see where we could have improved with the benefit of hindsight. Using these insights helps us in the future, when we have an opportunity to make a similar decision to say, we missed this out before and we missed that out before, let us look at it again and try and incorporate some of those things that we missed out before. That helps us to become better decision analysts, better decision makers, and helps us in improving in our investment decisions. I will stop there for now and allow us to open the floor for questions. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your attention, and we're open to questions. Hopefully, we can answer them as quickly as we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that insightful presentation, Mr. Ife. We really appreciate that. I'm sure each and every one of us have gained a lot of valuable insights from what you have presented, and would give room for questions. Would give room for questions. So thank you very much, sir, once again. So at this point, we're truly fortunate and honored to have in our midst several members of the Board of Trustees and some section directors who have gracefully honored us with their presence today. And your wealth of experience and leadership continues to inspire this section as a whole. So we would be delighted and appreciative if any of the distinguished Board of Trustees member, as well as any of the section directors who would like to unmute their mics and share a few words of encouragement, as well as comment as to the just finished presentation that we just had. Please feel free to do so. Your contributions would be very valuable and appreciative to us.
Hello?
Yes, Engineer Ajit, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Section 104, Warri, does not carry last. I'm happy to be here with you. I want to first of all thank Ife for a well thought out, profound, and lucid presentation, abundantly delivered, talking about risks, safety and management in every day of our lives. We take decisions, and when you take decisions, what underpins those decisions are your risk appetites, whether you're risk loving or you're risk hitting or you're risk neutral. So those are first your decisions you take. So this subject is very apt. Topic is very apt. It's just unfortunate that a lot of people are not around. But I will appeal that the recording is shared so that those who are not here will listen to it and gain from it. So I want to thank Ife for doing justice to it. And I want to employ those who are here. Take what you have heard and apply it to your life. It's not only in the upstream or where you work, you apply risk. Even in your personal life, when you're taking decisions, you look at the risk level. Yes, they say that high risk, high reward. No risk, no reward. So you need to ask yourself, am I willing to take this risk? If anything happens, do I have a buffer? How can I rebound? For example, when you are working, the risk level you take as against when you're retired is different. When you're working, you can rebound because you still receive that high stream of income. But when you're retired, you cannot take that risk because if you lose your entitlements, you cannot recoup it because you're not working for anybody, and your stream of income has narrowed. So I just want to put that across. So thank you and for having me, and thank you for doing justice to the topic, and also thank the section board led by our able chairman who is doing great work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Ajuri. We really appreciate your thoughtful comments. And of course, it's very important to know the risk appetite for everybody's endeavor. Do we have any other Board of Trustees on the call or section directors that would love to also give us a quick few words? All right, thank you very much, Engineer Jerry. We would move on to the Q&A session. So we hello Bethel, are you trying something? Please let's mute our mics if we are not speaking. Bethel. All right, thank you. So we would love to move to the Q&A session, and we would encourage everybody who have questions and have raised any form of observations during the course of the presentation to please unmute their mic and ask the question, or alternatively drop the questions on the chat box. We would take it and read it out. So questions, please. Yeah, you can raise your hand and unmute.
Good evening. Can I ask my question?
Good evening, sir. Please go on.
Yeah, this is Dr. Ogenelumel Golo, and I was trying to see if I can raise my hand up or send a message, but my software is not just responding, so that's why I had to unmute my mic to speak. Thank you, Mr. Ogene, for the beautiful presentation, and I think I will get your contact from the section chair after this presentation, because I think when I saw your bio, I think we have some similar interests in terms of, I also finished from THS and from Uniben as well too. So I would love to maybe engage you further for that. But I have a question to ask. Mine is just on the aspect of being able to translate like inventions or finding in petroleum economic modeling in the industry. That what's the like opportunities or platforms or scenarios where an invention from the academia, probably it could be that we find a new innovative way to model project economics, a new indicator. How do we get the industry to accept such findings and being able to see that such findings are being used by the industry? So that's just my question. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Doctor. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
So we have inspiration from different sources. When you're trying to solve a problem, you can get inspiration from different sources. Right now, it's actually quite interesting now because AI is able to leverage on some of these learnings and actually adopt them as solutions that apply globally. So the only way I can advise that we can make some of our discovered solutions more available is to publish them, is to speak about them. If you have an opportunity at SP or to write a paper or to give a lecture about a solution you have found, chances are that if you put it out there in the open space, in the open world, someone else might look for a solution that's similar to yours, and AI might suggest it to them in their bedroom. The problem is whether you'll be acknowledged for it. We have not yet hacked that part yet. So someone might be using your slippers in Russia, and you are not aware in Warri, and they will be gaining accolades there without you being acknowledged. But yes, it is something that is very easier. It's easier now and very popular because we are all living in a connected world. So the advice is to publish, to present, and to share knowledge as much as possible with such forums like the one we are in now, which is something I totally support, sharing knowledge and publishing work. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks. But I was also thinking in terms of industry engagement, like maybe like having all these open sections with core industry persons, maybe because I know sometimes they have these pep talks or maybe experts-led sessions where one can be able to share such.
Indeed, those are very open. Like people are willing to have these presentations and knowledge sharing. Like what you're saying just says that when you have information, the more information you have, the better the quality of your decisions. Sometimes that information comes from other projects that have gone through the same problem, and they solved it in a certain way. So the more we share, the more opportunities we have at forums like this, it's the better for us. So yes, please grab those opportunities as much as possible.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have somebody who raised his hands earlier, Mr. Emma Ekewuche. Please, can you go ahead and unmute your mic to ask your question? Mr. Imo Ekewuche, are you still on the call?
Okay, Mr. Imo says his question has been answered.
Okay, thank you. We also have somebody whose hand is currently up, but the name appears to not be visible. It says Zoom user. Kindly unmute your mic and introduce yourself to ask your question, please.
Okay, yes. My name is Favor, and I think I had a really great time listening to you, Engineer Ife. Thanks for this easy to follow presentation on risk. My question is really around one of the slides where you shared on the Italian flag and how we use it to quantify non-technical risk. There was a subnote there that says putting the flag 50-50 not advisable, and it triggered my thinking that what of the cases where we cannot really say the spread, if it tends maybe more towards the left or towards the right, we're not really sure. How then do we classify such a risk? My own tendency would be to keep it as 50-50 for things I'm not sure of. But then when it comes to making decisions, maybe that's also why that caveat was there, not to remain on the line. So what happens in such situations where you cannot really say for sure the risk too much to the left or to the right?
That's a very good question. In that case, let me I'm back. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay. I think the Zoom crashed. So in a case where you have a 50-50 scenario, you have to answer one question. Is this information critical to the project? And you can answer it by your willingness to flip a coin. Maybe you say, I have 2 cars going to marry now, and it's 50-50. Maybe you feel like you are okay flipping a coin. If you're okay flipping a coin to answer the question, then it's not important. It's not worth your time. But if you are very reluctant to flip a coin to say, let me use heads and tails to decide this answer, then it is a pointer for you to spend money to get more information or to make more research on that particular question or that piece of information. Don't leave a critical 50-50 Italian flag as 50-50. That is the message there. If it's not critical, you can leave it at 50-50 and go on with your project and say it's not going to affect. But if it's critical to the point where flipping a coin is very uncomfortable for you, spend money to acquire further information so that you can know for sure whether it is a yes or it is a no. So this is usually not a destination. It is kind of like an indicator or a road sign to tell you where you have information and where you don't, and where you need to put more money or not in gathering more information. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Very clear. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. Finally, we have one question from the group chat, from the chat box. Walker says, thank you, sir, for the beautiful presentation. You mentioned the transition from project economist to decision analyst. In your experience, what is the best barrier preventing most professionals from making that shift in practice?
So that's a very good question. And I would say that there are three barriers to something like this. The first barrier could be you yourself internally, whether you believe that it is something you want very much. And for the kind of shift that actually motivates you to put in the work, because it's not a very easy thing to do. You have to sacrifice something, you have to take out time, you have to make efforts to study the sector you want to move into. And you also need the motivation to keep going when it is difficult. So the question has to be answered internally. Is this something I really want? Is this something that I'm willing to sacrifice for? And if the answer is yes, then you have overcome the first hurdle. The second hurdle is usually organizational. Some of us work for companies that once they've trained you to be an accountant, that's all you can be. Now it is changing. A lot of times, these organizations that we work for realize that some accountants make very good security coordinators. And some people who study theater arts make for very good managers, maybe because they can act very well. They know how to keep a straight face when somebody is saying something stupid. You don't know what people's cross talents are, but we are learning somehow now that people can be something different from the cast we have put them in. So organizations are changing, but if you're in an organization that makes it very difficult for you to switch to something that you know you are clearly able to demonstrate that you're good for, it is also a good idea to explore external organizations. And the third one, which I would say is the most hidden one, is time. Time is more expensive than money. A lot of people are very busy. Some of us are so busy with our day jobs that you don't even have the time to read. You don't even have the time to spend with your family. You don't even have the time to explore the other options that are there for you, or to make the sacrifice to do what is required to change your career. So sometimes it is also just a matter of time. Sometimes we take leave so that we can study. Sometimes we take time off or like a leave of absence so we can go and explore something else. These are also options. And I would say that for me, those were probably the three biggest barriers that I had to face. And maybe hopefully in other people's experience, they can share in another separate forum for that.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
I'll just go ahead and read another question. I don't know if we have time for one more.
Okay,
Because
please.
we've overshot our time.
Yes, let's take one more before we proceed. Thank you.
Okay, so it says Bashir is asking if over-reliance in probabilistic models can create blind spots. Yes, the answer is yes. You should not over-rely on anything because it only is as good as the data that is supplied to it. Garbage in, garbage out. What I would say is we should try to gather as much information as possible. The more information we can gather to update some of these models, the better for us. And then you're also asking an interesting question. How should organizations build the capacity to interpret and act on uncertainty, not just quantify it? How do you make and encourage good decision making? As an organization, if you take record of all your decisions and all the outcomes, and you can go back and study them and see the repeatable patterns that you can have, auditable process. How did we come here? What was our thinking when we chose this option? And then what was the result? What did we miss out? What was our blind side? If you're able to quantify that process, record that process, and audit that process, you would find that people are learning to be better decision makers and to identify their biases early on and to steer away from them. So in an organization, they can do that. Also, making it an environment where you are free to make mistakes. If you make a decision that is a good decision based on all the information that was possible at the time to you, you followed the right process and still the outcome was bad, and your organization chooses not to punish you for it because it was a good decision, but with a bad outcome, that is another way an organization can help to build better decision makers who are well comfortable with uncertainty. Your organization has to be ready to lose money to good decisions. If they are willing to lose money to good decisions, you will see more and more good decision makers, because if you make a good decision, it has a bad outcome and you get punished for it, next time when they ask you in an uncertain situation to make a decision, you will not be willing to act on it. It's the person who was flogged yesterday that is in position today to make decision that will now be dragging his feet and not acting on it. So these things are all linked. We probably would need more time to talk about that, but it was a very insightful question. Thank you for all the questions.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate taking your time to answer these questions. I'm sure many of us would still have more questions, but of course, as a team, we can compile the questions and send to Mr. Ife. I'm sure he'll be happy to provide questions afterwards. So thank you to everyone who asked questions, and they were really thoughtful. So we'd like to take a few takeaways from today's lecture before we proceed. So here are the few things that stood by me, and I would like to share with everybody here. Firstly, assessing and quantifying risk and uncertainty is essential for high quality decision making in the oil and gas industry, especially. And these tools and techniques shared today can help us better understand and communicate uncertainty. So the real value comes from when we apply this concept in our daily projects and decisions. So we encourage all of us to start putting these ideas into practice. So moving on to the next agenda is we will now take a short moment for group photography. Please turn on your camera if you're comfortable so we can capture this memorable session together. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, so moving on, I would like to invite our program chair, in person of Engineer Elvis Duji, to give the vote of thanks and closing remarks. Engineer, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, sir, you can be heard.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to greet everyone here present on behalf of the SPE Warri section chair. I want to sincerely thank Mr. Efeogene, CFA, for this insightful lecture on introduction to applied risk and uncertainty. It's quite very, very rich and very, very relevant in everything we do. Thank you so much for reminding us that decision quality in our industry, in our personal life, in everything we do, rests on our ability to assess, quantify, and communicate effectively. Is very, very important. Thank you so much for that. Again, we want to appreciate you for the tools and techniques you have shared with us. These are not just theoretical, they are very practicable levers that we can apply in everything we do in our projects, economics, and daily technical work, just like Engineer Giri mentioned. So these are very, very important, and it will help us to reduce biases and improve outcomes in things we do. So in addition to that, in making, not just only in making decisions, even when we make decisions, because we're living in a world that is dynamic, that is always changing. So when we do effective risk assessment, it helps us to not just making decisions, we do a lot of scenario analysis, scenario or sensitivity analysis to identify, just in case, if this happen, what are the things we can do to mitigate them? This is helping us to build a resilience and robust system and process so that even when we take our decision, we can always survive. Thank you so much. We want to really appreciate you for that. So to all our members present here, directors, we want to thank you so much for your presence. Our professional members, YPs, our guests who have joined us so far today, taking time to spend time with us. Thank you so much. We really appreciate this time. The time is very precious. So all the questions, contributions have enriched this section and reflect the strong technical culture we are building in SPE Warri. Thank you all. So special appreciation to the technical committee, Bashir and Co. Thank you so much for organizing this lecture every month. And again, SPE, SNEPCO too, that have created a platform for Mr. Ife Ogene to share his 15 years of experience with us. Thank you, SNEPCO. Thank you, we appreciate. So as we log off, I want to say, let's take our key lessons from today and apply it. Let's apply it. It's not just to listen. If you don't apply, you will not learn, you will not grow. So risk and uncertainty will always be part of our business, but with the right framework has been shared, we can make them work for us, not against us. Do not be afraid to make decisions, but make sure when you are making your decision, you have the right framework, the mindset, and the tools. Then take it and move on. So thank you all. Our next technical lecture comes up in May. Please watch out for the announcement on all our platforms. I want to appreciate everyone. Until then, please stay safe, stay curious, and keep advancing the science of petroleum engineering and everything that has to do with our profession. Thank you all for coming, and wish every one of us pleasant evening. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all.